Welcome, welcome, welcome. Family. Family is in the house. I tell you what, this is going to be a great class today. We're going to be talking about niche marketing, and we're going to go deep, not too deep, but we're going to go pretty deep. I'm calling this a master class. And this is going to be one of those rare times when I'm able to actually talk about the niche marketing piece in greater detail. Now, for those of you that remember, I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to let me know what are the 3 lead buckets where all the listing leads that you ever need come from. The 3 buckets. If you want to type it into the chat, throw it in the chat, and I'm going to give you, let's see who comes up with it first. While you guys do that. So there's 3 buckets, and this is stuff that I've been teaching to you guys for the past 10 years, okay? There's 3 buckets where all the listing leads that you ever need are going to come from. What are they? Go ahead and type it in the chat, those that know. While they're doing that, Paul, I'm actually going back through our, oh, here it is. Here we go. I got it. I'm going back through our Viber and looking at, oh man, golly, we communicate a lot through that thing, don't we? Yeah. All right. So while I'm waiting for someone to remind us all of the 3 buckets, what are the 3 buckets where all the listing leads that you ever need are going to come from? Throw it in the chat. While I'm waiting for somebody to do that, I want to share my screen real quick because I want to share with you guys a couple of quick announcements before we get into the masterclass. So the first announcement, I want to send a big shout out to our top producers. This is actually not, I don't think this is actually Q2. This is probably an old graphic, but these are the people here at our mentorship masters here at EXP that are doing 6 figures plus. Many of these are making more than $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year in GCI. So if you ever have a question, you're like, man, I'm stuck. I don't know how to make this work. These are the people you want to reach out to because they are actually doing it and they're actually making it happen. So I want to send a big shout out to them. And then also I want to send a shout out to our top attractors. We don't have our June list. We'll have that next month, but the top attractors for May, still holding down the #1 spot, Will and Deb Gilliam. We've got #2 place is Patrick and Valerie Kelly. And then coming in at #3, we got Tony Patillo and Tammy Manning. And then we've got others going all the way down. So thank you guys for being part of my world. And I'm still waiting for somebody patiently. I am such a patient man to throw it in the chat. Okay, this is now we might have to do a class on this, Paul. I can foresee a class. So in my book, this is the book right here, Success with Listings. It's in a couple of other books that I've written. There's 3. Hold on, we got a contestant here. Somebody said expired FSBO and Sphere. Yeah, we're going to have to teach a class on this. Okay, we are definitely going to have to do it. There are 3 buckets where all the listing leads that you ever need will come from. And if you don't understand about these 3 buckets, then it will be understandable why you're not reaching your ultimate greatness. Okay, because this is like the basics of what I teach. And in this book, it starts right in chapter 6. From chapter 6 through 10, I go through what those 3 buckets are. Oh, Mieko got it. All right. Yeah. She gets 5 gold stars. So there it is. Yeah. All right, Mieko. Good job. Good job. I knew you guys knew it. You were just holding out on me. So it's your sphere of influence. That's your #1 bucket where all the listing leads that you need are going to come from either your sphere of influence, it's going to come from your farm, or going to come from your niche, or all 3. Really, all 3 should be rocking. Now, there is a way, and this is something I've really never taught this before, so it's going to be exciting for me to teach. there is a way to sort of cheat the system a little bit. And if you went, like, let's say you didn't have any sphere of influence at all. You're in a new town, you don't know anybody. Well, first of all, you got to go start meeting people. I've talked to people that say, Knolly, I'm in a brand new town. I don't know anybody here. I'm like, oh, well, how long you been there? Oh, I've been here about a year and a half. If you go out and meet two people a day, you'll have 600-700 people in your database in 1 year. So that's really not an excuse if you want to be rich, you want to be successful, and you want to be able to put food on the table for your family and be very good at doing that. Being new to a town. But let's say you are brand new to a town. Guess what? You can start with your niche or niche, depending on where you are, and then you work backward. Your niche can, you do your niche, then you do your farm, and all of that activity becomes your sphere of influence. Okay. So what I'm going to focus on today, though, is 100% how do you dominate in a niche? Okay. You got a niche to get rich. All right. That's what's up. So with that, and I am going to leave some time for Q&A, but I want to jump right into the beautiful presentation that my main man, Paul, put together for us. He actually put these slides together and they look beautiful. If you love these slides, don't do it yet. But as you go through and you say, man, I love these slides and I want a copy of them, throw it in the chat. That way Paul knows he's doing a great job. So we're going to talk about how to grow your business by dominating a niche. Okay, strategies to excel in your specific market niche, how to grow and dominate, empower your business journey. That's what we're talking about today. Who's ready to get started? Niche, anybody? Okay. Now, I have to say, before I get into the training of this, I have to say that I have made a killing. I've become wealthy by being a specialist. Okay, when I first got started as a entrepreneur, I was a specialist in certain things. I was 12, 13, 14 years old. Okay. When I was 14, I was in school. I was the candy man. Everybody knew if you wanted candy, you came to see Knolly. Okay. I always had candy and I would sell it at a 200, 300, 400, sometimes a 500% profit margin. All right. Buy the big packs, I'd break them up and I'd sell them for 10 cents a piece. And I'd usually sometimes 5X, sometimes I'd make more than that, my profit, in profit. So as I got older, I've actually been working from home since 1993. That was the year I started working from home, quit my job, started working at the house. And it's been 31 years that I've been doing this, for myself. And I started off in the music industry and it was a niche of a niche. Pay attention. First of all, I was in the entertainment business, but from that, I was in the music business. That's a niche of the entertainment industry. Then from that niche, I was in the Christian music business. That's a niche of a bigger niche. Okay. And from that, I was in the rap genre. Okay. So you talk about a niche of a niche of a niche. That was me. And because I was a specialist, we became number one in the world for our genre. Got to the point where in my 20s, I was making millions of dollars a year. I was making over 150,000 a month. I didn't know what I was doing, by the way. I didn't have a good acumen around money. I knew how to make money. I just didn't know how to keep it. Anybody ever had that problem? I knew how to make it. And so I've solved that problem, thank God, over the years. And so when I got into real estate, I said, I'm gonna be a specific niche, and I got into listings. Okay, listings is a niche of real estate, and then sellers, working with sellers, and then from there I went into expireds, and that became my niche of a niche. Then I got into short sales. Okay, when short sales became like prevalent, I did a lot of short sales, and I became very wealthy doing short sales. Did hundreds and hundreds, and probably over 700 short sales. So what I want to talk about today is how do you dominate? How do you really become that go-to person? I do want to thank those of you that are donating to Life Unlimited Ministries. This is how we're able to, how I'm able to send out tons and tons of free training to people, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and real estate agents. Okay. Don't forget, first and foremost, my biggest fans. And if you're watching this after the fact, now you're on the call right now, you're part of my VIP. But if you're watching this after the fact, maybe somebody shared this. We're actually going to make this one shareable. Okay. Just spreading the love. You can become a part of it. Go to knollycoaching.com. You'll see everything that's involved in the 501c3 nonprofit ministry. Now, also, I want to thank Mentorship Masters. I got some Mentorship Masters on the line that partner with me here at eXp Realty, and we are taking over. We're just having so much fun. We are a Christ-centered group, and I'm teaching you how to sell tons of real estate at a high level. So talking about, and if you want more information on that, by the way, go to partnerwithnolly.com. Don't go there now. Okay. Just write it down. Go there later. Partnerwithnolly.com. Now, there are 4 types of niches. And I want you to take notes on this, although if you're very nice, then, we're going to share this slide deck with you. Okay. So the 4 types of niches are these. Number 1 is a geographic niche. Number 2 is a property type of niche. And number 3 is a client type. And then number 4 is a transaction type. So what I want you to think about is a niche as a division of your business. It's a division. It doesn't have to define you. And because you specialize in a certain niche does not mean that you can't do all the other things that you want to do. It just means that you're leading with it. And I will tell you that when you specialize, you're sought out, you're in demand, and you're relevant. Okay. There's a reason why a cardiologist makes about $153,000 more than a general practitioner. Yet statistically, they work 30% less hours. Okay. Your cardiologist works less than a general practitioner, 30% less, but they make $150,000 more per year working less. Why? Because they're not for everybody. Not everybody needs a cardiologist. I don't have one. But guess what? If you've got a heart condition, you need one. Okay. And this is how you can create a business where people are coming to you, clients are coming to you. They're phoning you. You're not chasing clients. They're trying to get on your schedule. When I was doing short sales, people they'd wait until we had an opening to work on their listing. And we had 1 week that we took 21 listings. Okay. I don't know, Paul, if you were working with me back then when I was doing a lot of that, but we had, now that wasn't a normal week. Most weeks we'd take 3, 4, or 5 listings every single week. Okay. And people would basically, like, they came to us. We didn't have to go chase them down. All right. They were referred in most cases. So like a cardiologist, when they get clients, those clients are referred to them. And they feel real lucky when they could get that cardiologist. Like, wow, I'm blessed. I was able to actually get I got in with this guy. His waiting list is like 8 weeks, or maybe it's, 6 months waiting list. Can you imagine having a waiting list of clients? Like, just imagine for a second, if you had a waiting list of sellers, like, could you come list my house? Well, I could get you on the schedule. Let me see what my schedule looks like. How many of y'all would like that? Huh? This is how I ran my business for years. Okay. I know Jenny would like it. Dave, I know you'd like it. Mieko, I know you'd like it too. Carol would like it also. So let's take a look at what this is. These 4 different ones, and I'm going to break them down for you. Geographic niche. By the way, I'm going to give you some homework at the end of our masterclass to where you'll be able to really break this down in detail even further like homework. A good friend of mine wrote a book on niche marketing. It's the best one I've seen. And he's actually a business partner of mine, and I'm going to be sharing how to get that It's on Amazon, but I'll be sharing which one to go grab after the training. So geographic, let's talk about geographic first. So that's where you focus on a specific location or area. So that could be like a, farm, and I'm not talking about farm area, but actual farm and ranch. Okay. Suburb, it could be county. There's people that specialize in counties. In fact, my buddy was talking about this particular gentleman who sold like basically server colocation. He sold server space. And you know who his clients were? Just imagine this for a minute. Like if you sell server space, like IP, network server, and you sell space, you could have any kind of client you want selling that to. Who would you target? Think about that for a minute. You're selling data storage. What kind of client would you target? Well, you know who this guy targeted? He targeted counties. Let me say it again. He targeted counties. Okay. So he basically sold to different counties. And so there was a particular time when there was a big power outage in Texas. I think it was in Texas. And guess who all the servers and everything was still up was this guy's servers. So if you're in a county, like you're Hayes County or Williamson County or Travis County or whatever county that you operate, you went to go see this guy because he specialized in helping counties with their data storage. All right. And by the way, do counties have a big need for data storage? Like, do they need a lot of it? Yes. So it's a very smart way to niche. Okay. Sometimes we learn our best lessons in other industries, by the way. Could be country club, recognizable area. Okay. So recognizable area could be like just a particular area of town that everybody knows. Okay. Cedar Point or, Lakeland Hills. Obviously it could even be a subdivision. Okay. But it could be a recognizable area that everybody knows. Oh, that's, Winter Haven, or that's whatever that recognizable area is. Okay. So that's one way that you could pick a niche, is you could actually go by geographic area. Okay. Now, another way that you could pick a niche, by the way, some advantages of this, you're going to gain a deep local market knowledge, and a couple other advantages, strong community relationships that you build. You're actually becoming like the mayor of those areas. And then obviously targeted marketing. You could be very, very targeted in how you spend your money. Doesn't it sometimes feel like, when you spend money, you just don't know if it's going to the right kind of use? And if you had a target area where you actually spent your money, you would know that at least it's pigeonholed into your target area. Like you almost wouldn't care if it could be used better because, hey, that's your area. Those are your people. That's who you're serving. And if it kind of gets wasted a little bit, not a big deal, because those are the same people that are bringing you tons of business, right? So you can think about a geographic area or a geographic style as being a niche. Okay. And by the way, one guy, I was on a recruiting call this week, and the agent that I'm wanting to recruit into my mentorship masters, he kind of reminded me of something that I knew and had forgotten. And that is, he works a lot of expireds. Okay. And in the expired game, he reminded me that actually when you start to get more and more expireds in your area, you can actually work those in a geographic area. And that can almost be like a farm for you. In other words, you could actually work expireds in a similar fashion to a farm. If you have, 100 or a couple hundred of them, then that almost can sort of become your farm area, if you will. Yeah. Maurice says that's what I'm working on now. Yeah. It's a great idea. So we'll talk about that in a moment too. So geographic is the first one. The second kind of niche that you want to think about is a property type niche. Now, this can go really, really, really deep. And what I'm doing here is I'm expanding your imagination of the kind of niche that you want to pick. You got to pick and you got to single it down to one. Knolly, can I do 3 or 4? No. You can eventually. Because remember when I said that your niche is a division of your business? Well, eventually you can have multiple divisions, can't you? I mean, you can have a luxury division, you can have a pre-foreclosure division, you could have a foreclosure division. You can have multiple divisions. There's no problem with that. Okay. You can have an expired division. So, but for when you first start, just start with one and learn how to dominate in that one, and then add another one. And by the way, when you start with one and you dominate it, then you put somebody over it to run it, to operate it for you while you're off starting another one. All right. So let's talk about specific property type. That could be condos or townhomes. It could be townhomes themselves, luxury homes, acreage homes, golf course homes, waterfront homes, view homes, second homes, etc. Multifamily investment properties, senior living homes, foreclosures, short sales. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. This list could actually go on and on and on. And in fact, I've got a friend of mine who specializes in selling churches. Yeah, that's right. She sells churches. So if you have a church that you want to sell, guess what? She can sell it for you. And it is a very lucrative business. I don't know if you've ever looked at what churches cost. I mean, I'm talking about churches, like fully blown buildings with pews and chairs and sound systems, equipment, PA, the whole 9 yards. Okay. She'll sell a whole church. And I got to tell you, they're not, let me say it this way. They ain't cheap. You thought the church business was small potatoes. It's not. Trust me, it's not. And the cool thing about that, her name is Deidre. The cool thing with Deidre is that if a church wants to sell their property, it's almost all pocket. Like they literally will reach out to her because she's there in Atlanta, and they know she calls herself the Atlanta church lady. She sells churches, and so they literally will look out to her and say, "Hey, I'm looking in this part of town. It's got to seat this many people." And da 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 da. She's like, "Oh, I got 3 just like that. Let's meet up and I'll talk to you about them." Guess what? They're coming to her. She doesn't have to go out shopping people. All right. And it's very discreet. Churches a lot of times they don't want their congregants to know that they're actually selling the property in many cases. And so they're not going to want you to put a for sale sign and all that. So guess what you end up with? A lot of pocket listings, a lot of direct type of people coming to you. So the point I'm making is you could almost go, it's infinite how you can go with property type. My buddy gives an example of someone that sells condos, and this particular gentleman only sold condos near a particular college campus. So any of the parents that were coming into town with their kids knew that you got to call such and such with campus realtors, because they're the ones that only specialize in selling, condominiums and properties around the campus area, period. And so this is the way you could specialize in a property type. I've got another friend who specializes in selling homes on 1 or more acres. Okay. He owns oneacreplus.com. And that's what he sells. The number 1acreplus.com. And he sells homes on 1 or more acre. Now, if you have a home on 3 or 4 acres, guess who you're going to think about calling? You're going to call my buddy Stuart, because that's what he sells. Okay. And I got to tell you, they're not cheap. Not in the Austin area. They are not. Okay. We have another, one of our mentorship masters, a guy by the name of Tony Pippinger. Now, Tony, every single year, he GCIs around 700, 800, 900,000, sometimes $1 million in commission, because I can't tell you when he's sold a house that's less than $1 million, because all the homes that he sells primarily are on waterfront property. They're waterfront homes, just like the ones you're looking at right here on the screen. Okay. So golf course, you name it. You can specialize in whatever floats your boat. Okay. This is property type. We're going to have Q&A in a minute, but I want to take you so let's look at advantages. Thanks for the advantages, Paul. That's a nice touch. Paul actually added some advantages that were not on my original slide design. So expertise in property specific regulations and trends. So you actually become an expert in what's going on with these kind of properties. Tailored marketing strategies specific to the type of property niche that you're focused on, and the ability to provide specialized services that are unique to that property type. Okay. So one of the things when I did short sales, and by the way, you got to make sure that the property that the niche that you pick, we'll talk about this in a minute, is in demand. We'll talk about this in a moment. But when I did short sales, when it was in high demand, we had companies that could go and haul all the junk out of the property. We had very specific, I had negotiators that would negotiate with the banks that were on my team. Okay. They were administrators for me. And I had 4 of them that were on the phone, 8 hours a day, negotiating with banks and getting these things approved and so on. So you have the ability to be very specialized in the services that you provide when you have a property type of niche. So, Dave says churches are growing rapidly in my area. Mine is buying a property per year or more. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's really interesting. And, just thinking about that, Dave, just imagine now this may or may not be a thing, but just imagine if you work with churches where they actually could have a pool, because there's a lot of churches, mine included, where they actually have a pool of money. And you know where that money is? Usually it's just in the bank. Like, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars just in a bank. Well, what if you started like an investment club where they can invest in raw land or properties, and they could liquidate those, assuming they don't need that money liquid, they could run that through their 501c3 or their 508, whatever they have. That's just another way that you could specialize. All right. So let's keep going. Let's go to the third niche category, and that's client type. So you could actually pick a niche based on a client type, a type of client. So let's look at what that would be. Okay. Catering to a specific group of clients. First-time home buyers or sellers. Okay. Second home buyers, sellers, investors in general, veteran affairs, so people that buy on a VA loan. And let's say you're the VA specialist, all the ins and outs of buying on a VA, and you're that gal, right? So that's your specialty. Luxury buyers could be, and this list, the client type can go on and on and on. Okay, you could talk about something like Spanish speaking. Okay, you could be. I have a friend of mine that for years, she basically does sign language. Okay. So you could, whether they're hearing impaired or they're, sight impaired, or they could even be handicapped where they need properties that are ADA compliant. There's all kinds of client types. I have a coaching client of mine, one of my students, and she was stuck on the idea of working with first-time home buyers. And while I like the idea in principle, I don't love the idea for someone that's a seasoned agent. Now, if you've been at real estate for, 6 months or a year, and you want to work first-time home buyers, and you're still getting your feet wet and feeling like are building your confidence and things like that, no problem. But she's been in the business for 15 years. And I'm like, why are you still working with first-time home buyers? They're the trickiest client to work. Like, they're the toughest. You make the least amount of money for the most amount of work. Okay. Why? Because they don't know anything. You've got to educate them. You got to tell them everything that's going on. Sometimes they've got credit issues or things that they just never thought of, so they didn't really prepare their credit in the right ways. Again, they've got tons and tons of questions. They question everything. It's not that they don't believe you; they just don't know anything. Okay. And she was like, "Oh, I just love them. It's just I'm doing such a great, I just feel so good about these, for the first time they're getting into it." So for her, it was all about the feel good. It gave her a level of satisfaction to help these people. And so I said, "Well, you know what's another kind of client type you can help? Wealthy, elderly." Okay. I'm talking about people in their, maybe they're in their 80s. They're sitting on a two, three, $4 million portfolio. They've got properties in 3 or 4 states. I'm thinking about a good friend of mine that fits this category. He's in his 80s. He's got properties spread across 4 states. And he's at the point where he's like, what am I going to do? Like, I got to start consolidating. I got to start figuring all this out. I might want to liquidate 1 or 2 of my properties. I had one client come to me and he said, Knolly, he says, I'm at that age where I want to liquidate 1 property per year. And he had 10 properties. So for the next 10 years, I helped him liquidate 1 property, per year. How would you like to have clients like that? You know what I'm saying? They don't know what quite to do with their portfolio. Maybe they have to diversify. They want to. And by the way, you still get the good feel good. Why? Because you're helping somebody that is. Did you know that rich people that are, rich older people are very lonely? I don't know if y'all knew that. A lot of times they're very lonely people. Why? Because they don't trust a lot of people. Why is that? Because they can't trust their kids. A lot of times the kids are just waiting for them to expire so they can put their hands on it. They're fighting over the estate while they're alive. Okay. So a lot of times they don't trust their kids. They're in the outs with, they got 4 kids and they talk to one of them. They talk to one of them good. The other 3 is like, okay. They don't really trust their friends because are you really my friend? Or you just like the fact that I got $10 million sitting around? You like my net worth or you really like me? So they're very skeptical in some cases. Not all, I'm not, stereotyping. I'm just saying that a lot of them end up that way. It's very lonely at the top. When you become a 1%er like me, those of us that make 1%, we're in the 1% of income earners in America. I'm one of them. We just don't have a lot of people that we know that are like us. And there's very few people that we trust. I'm just going to tell you how it is. And so if you become the trusted source for these people, this is what I'm telling my coaching client. I said, if you become the trusted source for these people, guess what? You're going to be fulfilling a need. You're going to get that feel good because they don't trust anybody, but they trust you. Heck, they might even leave you one of their properties. I don't know what they'll do. I can't tell you, but they'll trust you more than they'll trust even their own kids. And you'll still get that feeling like you're helping a person that's vulnerable. Because yes, a lot of people will take advantage of people like that and you won't. So why not work with people that have money and have credit? I've got a buddy of mine in Kauai who works with a gal that's a billionaire. Okay. And she'll buy properties that are 5, 10, 15 million, and he's her guy when she's going to invest in properties like that. So there's nothing wrong with working with the affluent. Okay. I want you to wrap your head around that. And you get the same feel good as a first-time buyer. Now, what are the advantages? Understanding of client-specific needs and preferences. So if you work with the wealthy affluent, all of a sudden, now you start working with CPAs, you start estate planners, you start knowing all these different things about what's important to them, okay? You become a good mediator, maybe a mediator between them and their kids, all that kind of stuff, right? You become a confidant. You have a personalized service. And by the way, all these people have networks. Did y'all know that? If I work with Spanish speaking, they got a network. I've got a good friend of mine. Um, he works with Hunal is his name. He works 85% of his clients are Indian clients from India. Okay. And he's an expert. And guess who they refer all their friends to? Kunal and his team. He understands the intricacies. In fact, he did a master class on how to work with Indian clients. It's very interesting, by the way. The culture and everything is so different than what we're used to. It's quite interesting, masterclass. And so another advantage is that you're going to build strong trust-based relationships. And guess what? That wealthy, affluent country club member, guess who they're going to tell all their friends who also happen to be what? Yeah, wealthy and affluent, of who they need to do, if they want to do some kind of an estate sale. Maybe they're moving into assisted living. They've got to, sell their estate. They need an estate sale. They need an agent that's versed in all things related to that, to transitioning. And guess who they're going to refer? Nobody else but you. That's it. Okay. And you begin getting word of mouth business with no advertising. I've run my business like that for years. Okay. Years and years and years. All right. So that's client type niche. And then finally, we're going to get into a transaction type. Okay. Your niche can be based on a transaction type. Now, I'm giving you all this information in this masterclass just so that you can pick what's right for you. Okay. I'm going to give you some tips around that in a minute, and then we're going to go to Q&A. So this is specializing in a particular type of real estate transaction. Okay. So that could be, like we said, VA, lease option transaction, could be owner finance options. Like, let's say you become the owner finance queen in your area. You know how to navigate those kinds of transactions. Guess who everybody goes to for their owner finance type transactions? They come to you. Short sales, and the list really can go on and on. Transaction types are another way that you could niche down. Now, what are the advantages? Expertise in transaction-specific processes and paperwork. You become efficient and streamlined in your services that you offer. And then, of course, you have an in-depth knowledge of legal and financial aspects related to the transaction. Now, you're never going to give legal advice, but you understand, and you just say, hey, I'm not an attorney. What I've heard attorneys say is this, but I would highly recommend you reach out to Pedro. He's the lawyer on my team who specializes in helping my clients. And he offers my clients 20% discount on his standard services. So you actually, the cool thing is when you're doing these kinds of transactions is you have a team of people that you work with, that you refer to, CPAs and so on, whatever else you feel like you need, that are always going to drop what they're doing and work for you. Okay. Why? Because you're sending them lots of business, and hopefully they're reciprocating and sending you lots of business as well. So that's the 4 different types of niches that you can specialize in. Now, a couple of things I want to mention, especially to those of you that are you're not in the live class because maybe you're not here yet. You're not in the Knolly Coaching Club yet, okay? Or you're not in Mentorship Masters. If you want to become part of what we're doing, and we do these twice a month, these master classes, you go to knollycoaching.com, okay? Or you can just, you can click on that QR code, okay? And those of you that have the slides, these are going to be active links. So you actually be able to click here and get the slides as well. Or you can text 53555 or text Knolly to 53555. Become a part of what I'm doing. I want to help you reach your ultimate greatness in less time than you ever thought you would need. Now, couple things. These are just announcements I'm making before we put a bow on the, on everything related to niche marketing. For those of you that are looking for a home, or you know somebody that's looking for a new home, to park their license and partner with me, send them over to partnerwithnolly.com. Check out what we offer in our mentorship masters program, because the masters get all this stuff for free as well. Tons of stuff. Now, I want to tell you that when it comes to your niche, you want to choose it based on your personality profile. It's very important. I have a lot of people that I know that I've coached, and I've had to talk them out of a niche and into another one, because they picked a niche because of what the income. Oh man, I can make a lot of money if I specialize in this. Forget about it. You can make a lot of money in any niche. Don't matter what it is. But you have to pick one that is teed up to your personality profile. How do you know? Well, when you look at the niche, you study it, you find out what's involved. Are you excited about it? Or are you like, ah, do you cringe? Okay. Then you know if this is the niche is right for you. If you kind of understand what your profile is, you'll know. Like if you pick a niche like probate or divorce, which we didn't even talk about here, then you have to basically have a lot of patience. You have to understand the minutia of, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of minutia, and if you're not adept or excited about dealing with the fine point, the small print, it's extra work. I'm just gonna put it that way. It's extra work. Now you can always hire somebody to do the extra work, but you have to understand, at least at a 10,000-foot view, what's going on. Okay. You have to understand it. And to some degree, it's got to get you a little bit excited. Yeah. So let's look at this again. The disc, I'm not going to turn this into a disc class, but disc is a big thing that I teach. I have lots of training on the disc and your profile. Another one is the genius test. Okay. That I'm really big on. Are you a dynamo, a blaze, a temple, or a steel? Are you a mechanic, a creator, a star, a supporter, a deal maker, a trader, accumulator, or a lord? Once you know who you are, then you can start to say, hey, wait a minute. This is my personality. I would be great for this particular niche. Okay. So always pick it based on your profile. Now, the last thing I want to say on it is you want to study to ensure there is sufficient demand for the niche you've chosen. So a lot of times people choose niches that there's just not that much demand for. So you want to make sure that there's, now what do I mean by sufficient demand? Well, all you got to do is look and see, okay, how many deals do you want to do per year? Okay, think about this for a minute. I want you to throw it in the chat. Don't give me some number that you think is going to impress me. Okay, this is between you and you. Let me teach you something here. Who are you in competition against? Let me ask you that question. Throw it in the chat. You guys already know the answer. Who's your competition? You guys already know. Mieko said it. Myself. Dave said it. Me. You are your only competition. So the only competition you have is between you and the ultimate you. There's the you that is you right now, and there's the ultimate you that you know you could be. Okay. And that's the gap that we're getting to. Okay. So I am my competition. That's what Maggie said. Right on. 100%. So throw it in the chat. What number of deals do you want to do? Just throw it in the chat. And anybody, not everybody has to do it, but somebody throw it in there and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about for sufficient demand. Okay. So somebody put in 15. I want to do 15 deals. Okay. Somebody said 12. I want to do 12 deals, 25 deals. Somebody else, 36, 10. Okay. So let me give you an example of this. So let's say you want to do 25 deals. So what is sufficient demand? Think about it this way. You want to have like a 20% market share. Just think about that for a minute. So now, by the way, you don't even have to have this big of a market share to hit your numbers. Let's say your number is 25, but how many divorce cases happen in your area per year? Do some math on it. Like, okay, so there's that many divorces. Of those divorces, how many of them have to actually liquidate the real property? Okay. So now you know that there's, let's say in your county, there was 6,000 divorces and half of them had to liquidate. That's 3,000 sales that occurred as a result of divorce. You already know that if there's 3,000 sales happening and you want to do 25 deals, there is a sufficient amount of business just in the niche itself to where even if that's all you did was the niche, you would hit your goal. Are you tracking with me? Does that make sense? So just make sure there's sufficient demand. And then remember, consistency is key. Time on the task over time wins over hard work every time. It's time on the task over time. What does that mean? In a future masterclass, I'm going to teach you how to do this. It is consistently every single day doing your lead generation and pointing it specifically to your niche market. Studying the niche, working the niche, getting out there, knocking on doors, letting people know that you're the expert. I bet you if you studied your niche for 2 weeks, you'd know more than 95% of the agents in your market. If you just studied it for 2 weeks. Okay. So this is not like a big thing that you have to try to do. You know how I learned short sales? This is funny. Back in 2004, I had a closing, and the guy, here's the book, by the way, that I want to recommend. I told you guys I would recommend this book. It's called The Niche Marketing Blueprint. Okay. You got to have this book in your arsenal if you want to dominate a niche, because there's things in this book. And by the way, the training that I gave you today is essentially from Stuart. This is his training. I'm just utilizing his material from the book and I'm teaching it to you. Okay. Just because I like the way he has presented it here. It's very succinct. The book is, I call it a realtor read. It's only 100 pages. And so it's very easy to read this on a plane ride or, on a Saturday afternoon. So when I got into short sales, it was in 2004 and I had a closing on a property. I was so excited to get my commission. You ever had a deal where you were really excited to get the commission check? Like it was one of those clients where, my God, thank you, Lord. I am Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. We're closing this deal. I am tired of these people. You ever had one like that? These were the people. Okay. Now I get a phone call. I was out of town. I get a phone call. We're closing in like 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And they said, hey, did you get the settlement statement? I said, no, I haven't seen it. They said, well, check your email. So I pull up the settlement statement. I'm looking at it. I'm like, why are there like, what are those things, parentheses? I said, why is there parentheses around the net to the seller? Okay. And they said, that's because the seller owes money. I said, what? This guy is not going to bring any money. No, please don't tell me that. Well, yeah, sure enough, the guy was short. So I called the bank and I was like, please, 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 can you forgive this difference? Like, can you just write it off? This guy, I'm ready to get this thing done. I am done. And they were like, oh, you want to do a short sale? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. What I'm talking about is I want you guys to forgive the difference. It was like, sir, that's called a short sale. I was like, I don't know what you call it. I don't care what you call it. Can you do it? They were like, we could probably do it. Here's what we need. Boom, boom, boom. So I called the guy. I said, look, I need these things by the end of the afternoon. He got them to me. And 3 days later, we got the short sale approved. And you know what I said? I said, man, this is easy. This is easy money. I'm going to do short sale. Now, little did I know, I thought I was setting myself up. I thought I invented something. But that's how I got into the short sale game. And how did I educate myself? Well, that was the beginning of it. And then I read the what they call the mortgagee letter. Okay. That letter was like 82 pages and it was put out by FHA, put it out. Now it's an 82-page document. Just think about this for a minute. You know how we have the new NAR settlement, right? This new lawsuit settlement. And there is a document that came out of that. How many of you guys have read the document? How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Y'all know how many pages it is? It's like 100 some odd pages, right? I don't even know how many pages. I haven't read it, but skimmed it. Yeah. Yeah. You need to chat GPT it. That's all you got to do. Chat GPT it. Well, guess what I did? I took, Dave said his brain went numb just going through it. So what I did was I took the mortgagee letter that was like 82 pages, and I just spent a weekend. It was terrible, y'all, but I spent the weekend reading the whole thing and highlighting it and understanding what it was saying. And I knew more than 99% of realtors in town just from reading that document. Not only did I know more than the realtors, I knew more than most of the loss mitigators. So I would be talking to a loss mitigator and I'd be saying, hey, based on the mortgagee letter, we can do this, 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 and that. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, the mortgagee letter, page 12, halfway down, where it says this. They were like, dude, I don't know what. So I'd have to send it to them. And I'm like, where did you learn how to do loss mitigation? They're like, well, we went to a 1 hour class taught by Chase, which was basically based on the mortgagee letter, but they just skimmed it. They just went through and I knew it. So that's how I learned it. I learned it pretty much in a weekend. Okay. And I got to tell you, I've made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in commission from that one niche. And I learned it over one weekend. That's how powerful it can be when you learn your niche. So now it's time for Q&A. Who wants to unmute yourself, ask questions? Are there any questions? Dave, what's up, my man?
Hey, Knolly. I'm seeing you like every day now. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, Dave is gonna get tired of this quick.
Hell no.
No, it's all good.
No, actually I had a question about business with churches, not with them, but in like I haven't approached anyone in my church because of, flipping over the tables, money lenders, all that, And I don't know, is there a way to actually help the people that go there? Or is
Yeah,
that, I mean, I'm just looking at it from a spiritual and moral standpoint of how do I approach this and not look like some, money changer in the middle of the temple.
sure. That is a tricky one, and that's why I tell people, like even when you're farming,
Mhm.
if you can find a great church in your farm, it's all the better because now they see your materials out, in shopping carts or on
Mhm.
on little tiny billboards in that area or in, mailers and so on. And now they see you in the local church, you're in the community, you're on PTA, you're doing all this stuff. Don't pick a church just because it happens to be that. And don't go in there with a stack of business cards. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I was
But
thinking actually just my church. We've got two, I mean, in our area it's big, and they asked me, I'm on the security team now because I have a skill set. Um, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of people here that could use help and be helped by somebody who is a true believer and
yeah,
has their
amen.
best interests in mind. But how do I approach that? Because I've been just completely hands off. I mean, just start wearing my logo everywhere.
No, you can't. You have to really be. First of all, you have to develop your USP.
Hmm.
Your USP is so important because, and by the way, Stuart will help you with this in this book, Niche Marketing Blueprint. I love the book, by the way.
It's on the way.
Um, it's really good. He'll help you. He's actually between him and his coach. I learned how to create a USP, and a USP is um, like when somebody asks me, "Hey, Nolly, what do you do?" Well, I help real estate agents earn a quarter million or more while working 3 hours a day. What? How do you do that? So if you just say, they say, well, what do you do? And you say, oh, I sell houses. No. Okay. You always want to have your USP around serving, helping. And it could be a different USP that you use for your congregation. You know, I help members of the body of Christ do XYZ or invest, whatever it is that you do, but always wrap it around helping. So I like to use in my scripting to my SOI, I like to say, hey, I'm looking to help 3 families before the end of next month. Who do you know that needs my help? I'm looking to
Mhm.
help 3 families. So always come around this idea of helping. And when people ask you, because it's always going to come up, what do you do? You want to have a USP that articulates how you can specifically help them, and it's not salesy that way. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, totally.
Yeah, and a USP is going to always be um and I would honestly, man, I would just pray. Like I always prayed when I would
Mhm.
go through
Okay.
this is what I would do is this is weird for a lot of people, but I actually drive through neighborhoods and I would lay my hands out and I say, this is my neighborhood. I see 12 listings happening in this neighborhood in the next 12 months. I see it happening. And I would just drive around. Funny thing happened. I have a friend of mine in Harlingen, Texas, and my wife, literally, like this is an hour and a half ago, we were sitting at the dining room, in the kitchen area, and she says, hey, I got a referral for Arnold out in Harlingen. She says, my friend wants to buy a piece of land. So she sends him a text. 3 minutes later, he calls me. I'm like, why is this dude calling me? I got a class to prepare for, and I didn't send him the referral. Josie did. Why is he calling me? So I pick up the phone like, what's up, boy? He's my buddy. And he's like, what's up, my man? And he said, man, I had a dream about you and Josie last night. And I said, let me just call you. I said, oh, so you got the referral? He was like, what referral are you talking about? I said, the referral Josie just sent you 3 minutes ago. See, this is how it operates, man.
It does.
We operate in the spirit realm. So what I would do before I walk in the church, I say, Lord God, if there's any families that you want me to serve and help in this church, make it happen today. Make them come to me, and they'll come to you. It's like, man, what do you do? And you'll be like, oh, what I do is boom, boom, boom. And it's going to be exactly what they need. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. I've
Yeah,
been struggling for a while how to just help people there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you read the USP, I did a whole class just on USP, and it's in the members area. So you can go through that and it'll kind of help you create one. But I think Stuart does a masterful job helping you create a USP. And you can have different ones for different people.
Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else? Any other questions? Has this been good? Did you guys enjoy this? Yeah, this will be a very good primer for you whenever you're at the point where you're like, okay, Knolly says I got to have a niche. How am I going to do this? Then you go back, you read this book, go back through this masterclass, and then pick and get to work. And trust me, you will not be sorry that you did. Okay, how do I meet elderly, wealthy folks? So, yeah, somebody says law of attraction. Absolutely, it works. Jimmy, is that Jenny? Sorry, Jenny. So how do you meet wealthy elderly? Okay, so what I would do first, if you really feel, now don't go out here like Knolly says I got to work with wealthy elderly. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you guys ideas. Okay, you can do whatever you want to do, but if I was to work with wealthy elderly, the first thing I would do is say, where am I going to find these people? Okay, so first thing I would do is I'd start visiting assisted livings. I'd start working with estate planners, and I mean, I would do the research. In other words, like, where are these people? Okay. I can tell you like 2 restaurants. I have 2 elderly, wealthy friends that in the last 48 hours, both of them have recommended 2 restaurants to me that are in Puerto Rico that's where they like to go. It's like a cafeteria style restaurant. Okay. And I'm like, okay, so now I know where the wealthy, affluent people eat. They eat at this cafe. I'm just being honest with you. One is an attorney that owns like 20 properties, and the other one is another person that owns, in his 80s that owns properties in 4 states. Both, and they both love this place. I'm like, oh, I know where I'm gonna start eating now. If I was to try to go for those kind of clients, okay. So you start, going, finding your tax consultants that work with the affluent, okay. And there are also there's attorneys that work with the elderly, and they do specific kind of, trusts and different things for them. Okay. So you get all the people that that work with these kind of people. And then you're like, okay, you're marketing yourself like, hey, I work with, net worth people of 2 million, anybody that has a 3 million plus net worth, however you want to say it. I work with affluent clients who are looking to liquidate or, reorganize their portfolio, and real estate is involved. And they just need good advice. Sometimes it's just a good advice that they need. They might not even need to sell anything. Okay. And guess what? When you do good work for one of these, how many? One. guess what's going to happen? They're going to tell one or two of their friends that happen to be the same as them in most cases. And now you got 3 people that you've done you've helped. Even if you didn't sell anything for them, you gave them good advice, you helped them out. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to start telling their friends. Eventually, you just become the person that's known for it. So once you get into the atmosphere of this is what I want. See, what you desires you. Okay, let me say it again. What you desires you. You don't have to go looking for nothing. But where do I find it? Just desire it. And it's going to find you. It's like you just wake up in the middle of the night. I'm going to tell you about this dream I had last night. Dave said, I just realized the restaurant in my town is where they go. Yeah, I'm telling you, and I like cafeteria food. Maybe when I started having a net worth of a certain amount, I just started liking it. I don't normally eat it, but I really like it. Like, because I eat a certain way, I'm like, I can't eat that, but I like cafeteria food, and I guess when you start, I don't know what it is about cafeteria food, and we won't get into that. Anyway, my dream. So I was like, with my real estate group here, I have 300 agents. Okay. And I'm like, how do I grow this group? And the Lord showed me this bush that we have here in Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico, this thing has a lot of flowers on it. And guess what the flowers do? They fall off. And guess what happens? New ones grow. Okay. Then those fall off and new ones grow, fall off and new ones grow. Because when you're in the real estate business, it's a cycle. And that it's like, well, I'm like, I don't like when agents leave. Sometimes agents leave. I've had several leave. I've got a bunch that come on. So, but it's like, the Lord was like, the problem you have is you only have one bush. You need multiple bushes. If you had like 5 bushes, you'd have 300 over here. You had 300, you got different. Right now you got one flower bush. So just add more bushes. I was like, oh, I like that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm actually helping other people get to where I am. I'm going to help you get to your 300. Okay. And I'm going to help you get to your 300, help you get to your 100. That's the way I'm going to grow. And so a lot of times you just have to put it into prayer and say, Lord, I want to help these people. Send them to me. And once you become known as the person that helps these people, listen to what I'm saying, that helps these people, you're not going to be able to stop it. You won't be able to stop the floodgates of coming in, okay, of these kind of people that you can help. So that's what I want to share with you guys. We've gone over time. Would sending my magazine to the church be bad? Not at all. Your church, man, everybody in my church knew Uncle Knolly sells houses. Boy, look.
Secret agents.
No, man, they already know. Now, I don't even have to bring it up. I don't have to say anything to them, and they flock to me because I'm so vocal about it in the community and everything. It's just like, I just walk in, and everybody knows what I do. Even when I go to like an EXP, a convention, I don't have to walk in and tell, I'm an author. I wrote books. Everybody knows that. Why? Because I get it. I tell it. I toot my horn.
Tell your story. Circle of Awesome.
You got to do it. Circle of Awesomeness. 100. All right, y'all. I'm going to let you guys go. Mieko, did you have something? I saw your hand raised. You liked it? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. I love y'all.
Thank you, man. God bless.
Thank you so much. Adios. See you next time. Bye, Carol. I see you. Bye, Mieko. Bye, Jenny. Bye, Pamela. Bye, Paul. Bye, Maggie. Adios.
Adios.
Yeah, somebody's asking for the slides. We're going to throw the
say aloha.
Aloha.
No, goodbye. Aloha. Until
Aloha.
see you again
Aloha.
here on earth or heaven.
That's right. Until I see you again here on earth or in heaven. Amen. Somebody's asking, where can I get the slides? Those will be available in the portal as well. Right, Paul? We'll throw them up in there as a link. All right. Love y'all. Adios.